and I love Kevin Bieksa. I love him to death. Just Vancouver legend, great guy, just someone you always want to have on your team. But man, if Kevin Bieksa mentions the words Kess's house one more fucking time, I might just stop watching hockey. So I think I speak for all Vancouver fans when I say, going into the 2020 to 2021 NHL season, we were looking for a strong showing from the Vancouver Canucks team. We got a couple hot young guys in Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, Quinn Hughes. We got Niels Höglander here, not to mention Elias Pettersson. PD, arguably the best Canadian team last year, having made it the farthest out of all the Canadian teams in the playoffs, having beaten the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues in the first round in 6 games, and having managed to take the juggernaut Vegas Golden Knights to 7 games in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So given all that, how did the Canucks manage to suck so bad this year, finishing with a 23-29 record, last place in the North Division? How did that all come to be?
I mean, I think it was a lot of things. First of all, their depth scoring was just non-existent. I think that was the big one. You had guys like Gaudette, Virtanen. They just completely dried up this season. Their offense was nowhere to be found. So you have that, and then Pettersson and Hughes wasn't the greatest year. I think people had pretty high expectations for those guys, and did they regress a little bit? Maybe.
I think Hughes, in terms of scoring, it was, and like points wise, he was right up there in the leaderboards for most of the season. One of the highest producing defensemen, but I mean, in terms of defense, I mean, the guy's a defenseman. He doesn't play a lot of defense.
Yeah, I think he was covered a lot by Tanev last year. And so Tanev leaving, he had Hamonic as his partner for the majority of the year, who, quite frankly, is just not as good as Tanev.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of showed Hughes' defensive deficiencies a lot more. And then as well, Demko didn't have the hottest start. He obviously ended really strongly. So yeah, the combination of the absolute lack of depth scoring, which shouldn't be happening on the Canucks, given how much money is in our bottom 6.
Seriously.
You look at Beagle, Roussel, Sutter. I mean, Ericsson's a given. Yes, Sutter. I think the only bottom 6 player who everyone's happy with is Tyler Mott. Other than that, it's just there's no one in there. Ferland was out all year. And so the combination of that plus the defense not being great, I think that's what kind of led to it for the Canucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest, the thing that probably chapped Vancouver fans the most is maybe the fact that Tyler Toffoli, who was one of my favorite players to watch last year, that whole situation, I mean, he clearly had talent. I don't know what Jim Bennings was thinking letting that guy walk, because I mean, watching him become one of the best scorers in the league this year on the Montreal Canadiens, I think my heart actually broke a little bit when I saw him score in overtime. Score the overtime goal in the second round to sweep the Winnipeg Jets and send them to the Stanley Cup semifinal. I mean, watching that, I couldn't stop watching it. I probably watched it 20 times. The whole time just thinking, man, if we had just given that guy his money, if we had paid him, that could have been us.
Yeah. And it sounds like he was inclined to stay as well, because in the offseason, he kept saying that he liked the city of Vancouver. He liked his time there. One of his best friends, Tanner Pearson, played for the Canucks. And it sounds like Jim Bennings just, really, really missed a chance with him. Barely, apparently, according to Foley, there was barely any talks between them, and no real offer on the table. So pretty mind-blowing, considering he ends up having 44 points in 52 games right after we miss out on him.
Yeah. Only at $4 million as well, or like 4.5, whatever it is.
What a steal. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome, Habs fans. Fuck's sake. You got a good one.
Yeah.
So, speaking of those underwhelming results, I mean, Jim Bennings has his ups and downs. I won't say, I mean, despite hashtag fire Benning and most of Vancouver wanting Jim Bennings head on a spike, Game of Thrones style. Jim Benning he's kind of had his moments in Vancouver where it's like, maybe this guy isn't so bad, because he's had some good drafting. Like in his time in Vancouver, he's drafted Petey, Hughes, Besser, did Hoglander more recently, but I would say that the Canucks might have one of the brightest futures in the league, just because of those four names: Hughes, Petey, Besser, Hoglander. I'm probably missing it. Demko. He's drafted pretty well. We've got a pretty nice looking young core. So where do you think it's fallen off the rails? I mean, we mentioned Tyler Myers and who was it, Louis Eriksson, but I mean, what do you think? What do you think he could have done better? And where are you looking for for Jim Benning to kind of pick up the slack this offseason?
He's tied down by those, like you said, those few big contracts. The Louis Eriksson contract, which is $6 million a year, and so that's tying us down. And again, Tyler Myers as well, also $6 million a year. So those big contracts are weighing us down, especially in the year that we have to re-sign Quinn Hughes.
Are those guys even tradable pieces? Like, how in the world are they going to get rid of those?
Yeah, you're not getting rid of that Eriksson contract without giving away some picks and quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah. What about a buyout?
Myers maybe, but
is that even possible?
It is, but the buyout, they're not as beneficial in the NHL as they are in the NFL, for example. That's why you don't see them too often. I'd be surprised if he got bought out, but it's just not a good situation.
I mean, those contracts are definitely some dead weight. So I'd say probably the first move is just in any way kind of trying to free up some cap room to sign some reliable stay-at-home D-men. I mean, we all know what Quinn Hughes brings to the table, but as we mentioned before, for a D-man, he doesn't really play a lot of defense. And then
and then with losing Tanev too, and trying to fill that void with Schmidt, which evidently didn't really work. Again, big expectations for him coming off of that season with Vegas, and then coming to the Canucks, and definitely underwhelming what he did for us this year.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I don't know, maybe like a third line center or something.
The problem is that they just have so many bad contracts still on the books, and they're pretty much not movable at all. Like Myers, they could probably get away. Wongo's recapture penalty. Those are all going to be on the books next season, so they're just not going to have a lot of flexibility to do anything this offseason. I think signing Hughes and PD to a reasonable deal would be like as good of an offseason as it gets, to be honest. And then
Yeah,
next year, hopefully, that's when we can see them make some good moves.
and it's funny because
I think too with
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think too with Benning's really hoping that a couple of the young guys, Pod Colson, obviously him coming over now from the K, could potentially be a big he could be a big young piece coming into the team, and Rathbone too. I think Benning is hoping that those two guys can sort of remedy a bit of the situation with the lineup and those big contracts.
I agree. Those are some good young, promising players. Really need them to work out, though. A little bit too much pressure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. I feel like we're going to see a couple of the young guys come from that Utica team, maybe try them out a little bit. I think the good thing about next season is that unlike this season, the expectations are pretty low. So, I mean, like even if things don't end up working out too well, it's not like we're expecting a super deep cup run. I mean, Vancouver fans can be pretty brutal, but coming off the last season, it can't really get much worse.
It can't get much worse than that, no. There is some reason to be optimistic for next season, just given that I believe that their division next year is quite a bit weaker than the Canadian division this year. I kind of thought that Vegas was leaving the division with Seattle coming in, but it turns out it's Arizona. But even so, with Vegas there, the other teams there, Seattle, which is a new team, they're kind of a wild card. But then there's the California teams who are all very weak, or relatively weak, and then Calgary and Edmonton. So it's pretty much wide open for the Canucks to come in second if they get back to their form from last year.
Well, fingers crossed. I think we're all hoping that the Seattle Kraken, this new team, doesn't end up being as good as Vegas turned out to be, because that would be kind of a disaster for everyone else in the division, including
yeah, that would suck.
But speaking of this this West Coast division, this little beam of light, this little shred of hope for us Vancouver fans, we've got this West Coast ale to review for you guys to go right along with this West Coast division. So yeah, let's crack these suckers open, see how it ends up.
That was a smooth transition right there.
All in a day's work. All right, let's one sip. Everyone knows the rules.
Pretty solid.
No, it's not bad, actually.
I like that.
Nice tall boy can here. Cutthroat West Coast Ale. The best things in life are tree, it says here. From Tree Brewing Company, Kelowna, BC. 5% alcohol volume. Can't hate that. It's got a nice little picture of a trout here, which I always like.
Yeah.
Couple trees, very West Coast label.
It is very West Coast.
The label itself is, you get extra points for that. Like I like the design there.
Pretty nice.
It's a smooth tasting beer. Nice tall boy can there. Good amount of liquid. Keep you occupied.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking? This is pretty solid in my opinion.
Yeah.
Might have to add these to the collection.
I'm thinking not quite elite. It's only 5%. I'm more of an IPA guy myself. I'll give it a 6.6 maybe. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can get behind it. I would say probably, around a 6.5, somewhere in there.
What are you thinking, Quinn?
I'd probably go taste wise, maybe like a 7.
Okay.
but then with the whole labeling and all that, probably give it a 7.5 overall.
Okay, so that takes the average up a little bit. So why don't we say like 6.8, 6.9 maybe?
Sounds reasonable.
Perfect.
Solid beer.
Respectable. Yeah, it's a good drink.
Respectable, yeah.
All right. So 6.9 for the Tree Brewing Co. Cutthroat West Coast Ale. There we have it, 6.9. All right, now let's get right back into it. Talked about the Canucks and this West Coast division. So despite being sort of tied down with the dead weight of those shitty contracts from from those bottom six players, and Tyler Myers, Louis Eriksson, Jake Virtanen, who haven't really produced much. What pieces do you think are tradable, and what pieces do you think are going to get dealt to Seattle if it comes down to it?
Well, I think it might be a good idea to trade a player like Sutter. Bit of an older player. Teams in contention for the cup could sort of look at a player like that. Maybe not even in the off season, but sort of at the deadline.
Yeah.
Trade a player like that, free up some cap space, and grab some picks, or even just open up the cap space. And then again, a guy like Pearson, even though we just re-signed him, $3.25 million a year, seems like a bit of a hit for a guy like that. So potentially, depending on the type of season he has, again, dealing him at the deadline to a team who's looking for a gritty guy for the playoffs could be some good things to open up some space in the lineup, and then also with their contracts as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree. Sutter. I think Tanner Pearson is the one who they should be looking to trade.
Yeah.
Because, Sutter, it's like, he doesn't have much trade value at 4 point whatever million it is.
Yeah.
Pearson, they can actually get, maybe a second rounder for at the trade deadline. I think that they should have traded him last year instead of signing him to that extension, but it is what it is.
I think that the hope is that they would pick up Holtby. And I think that's kind of why we picked him up from Washington already, was expecting to have him for a year and sort of hoping that Seattle would take the chance on him. And then that would again free up more space on our sheet, because he's getting 4.3 mil a year. So
yeah, I agree. And there's really not a whole lot of good options on the Canucks for the expansion draft. It's like Holtby or McEwen, I think, is probably going to be the best option. He might even get protected. So yeah, hopefully they take Holtby and clear up that like 4.2 or whatever it is.
It's good though that we have a young goalie like Demko that's been super solid when it counts.
Yeah,
we can afford to get rid of Holtby.
And then call up DiPietro.
Yeah. I think the schedule too is so tough because Demko's having to play so frequently, and then we had Holtby as our backup, and he didn't exactly have the year that we kind of hoped for him to have. So hopefully in a year where potentially the season's not condensed, and it could be more of a opportunity for sort of Demko to really, really shine, and DiPietro to just play those games in the midst of that.
Let's move on to these current playoffs. How about I mean, as Vancouver fans who didn't really get to really enjoy watching our teams in the playoffs this year, how amusing was it to watch the other big time Canadian franchises that kind of steal the spotlight from the smaller teams? How amusing was it for you guys watching the Toronto and Edmonton meltdowns?
It's always good to see Toronto have a meltdown like that. It's always good. And this one was worse than they usually are.
Oh my goodness.
And then Edmonton as well.
Edmonton, I was a little bit sad about. I mean, Montreal could have given them one game. Like McDavid couldn't get them one game, really? Terrible.
Yeah, I think just the lack of depth on Edmonton. Like, how many minutes was Darnell Nurse playing in those games there? He's on OT. He was on the ice basically the whole time.
In that last game. 62 minutes.
What?
Of ice time. I think it was triple overtime or something.
Holy smokes.
But still.
Yeah.
Like,
62.
When you're relying on those top line guys like that, it's just you're gonna have a hard time getting very far in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And in the playoffs, it's so tight checking, and they just do everything that they can to shut down those star guys.
Yeah.
So you do need the depth.
But you talk to a Vancouver fan, and it's like it doesn't matter what it is. You know, we win a couple games in a row, like someone gets a hat trick or whatever, and the next day, the front page news story, it's not the Canucks. It's, you know, Austin Matthews has a mustache. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, that's just Toronto media.
Toronto media. But you know, I think as far as hockey teams go, Toronto and Edmonton probably have the most annoying fan base, as maybe in any sports franchise. Like, all you hear is, you know, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews this, Austin Matthews that. And, you know, every year you hear Toronto Maple Leafs fans, you know, this is our year. This is our year. It's going to happen. And to see them just, I mean, I felt bad for Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, but at the same time, it's kind of just like classic Toronto.
Yeah, the top guys for Toronto, though, like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, really just had such an underwhelming playoff. And then, of course,
really
John Tavares is out. So you're down one of your top 6 forwards. So, yeah, just really unfortunate.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
The one thing that wasn't too amusing, I mean, it was pretty funny seeing, I think there was a stat that said Mitch Marner has more over the glass penalties in the playoffs than he has, or is the same amount as playoff goals. He had 6 playoff goals and 6 over the glass game delay penalties, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Tavares thing, that was pretty scary. What's your guys' take on the whole Corey Perry hit on Tavares?
I think just kind of like an unfortunate accident. I think everyone can kind of agree that there's probably no real intention there.
No, I think it was definitely accidental, but, you know, Corey Perry has the reputation. Like, he does not have a good track record. He is kind of known as a dirty player.
Yeah, that's true. But just given the speed that they were going at, I don't know. I tend to think that it was just an accident.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was malicious in any way, but, you know, there's just because it's Perry, I think there was a little bit of skepticism. But you know what?
Yeah.
The thing with that whole Perry thing is that it happened, and Tavares, the team captain, it's the playoffs. He did try to get it out of the way. So I think the Toronto team gave him the benefit of the doubt. They didn't just go head hunting. They didn't pull a Todd Bertuzzi move or anything, because he did try to get out of the way. And in the press conference, in the post-game press conference, he talked about it. He said he just felt sick to his stomach. And it was a really classy move, I felt, by Corey Perry, because he knew he was going to have to atone for what he did, even though it was accidental. You know, it sucks, but I mean, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's hockey for you. It's a physical game, but it was really classy, I felt, by Corey Perry, that he atoned for it and answered the bell. He took that fight from Nick Foligno, and he just ate knuckle sandwiches that whole fight. He didn't throw a single punch. He just ate punches the whole time, and I think that was really classy by him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he said it after the game that Foligno came up to him and said, "We all know it was an accident, but that's our captain.
Yeah,
we got to do something." And he just agreed to drop the gloves, and I think that was just kind of not a harmless play, but total accident.
Total accident, and it sucks. You hate to see it. Hope Tavares gets better and comes back better next season, but that's just hockey, man. Hockey's different. Hockey guys, just like, you wouldn't really see that. You wouldn't see that at all in another sport. It's like two guys that he knows he's got to do something to atone for it, and he just ate those punches from Foligno, which is like pretty tough guy, hockey guy, classy move.
Yeah. On the other hand, that Mark Scheifele hit, I think we can say a little different about the intentions on that one.
Okay, Alex, let's have your take on the Scheifele situation.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that one was just really scary. Just the whole situation, how fast he was coming down the ice, and yeah, leaving the ice a bit and coming in right with his shoulder and elbow right into his head. I mean, obviously he's trying to stop him from scoring that empty netter there, but at that point he's already putting it in the net. There's no way he's stopping him, and he still is just finishing that hit. And the way Jake Evans went down was scary, and it was on his 25th birthday too, just fresh into the league. So all in all, just
that sucks.
Yeah, really, really scary.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Initially I thought that he was trying to make a hockey play and just stop Evans from scoring, but I went back and I slowed it right down. I'm pretty sure he could have stopped the puck from going in had he put his stick out. Instead, he goes in with full speed, knowing Evans is in a really vulnerable position, finishes his check, and then obviously we saw the result. I think it was a pretty dirty play, and I think the suspension was totally warranted, to be honest.
You know what? I might get some hate for this, but I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. You know, he was moving at full speed, and I would call it a charge, but did it warrant 4 games? First of all, I don't it was a charge. I'll give you that. It was a charge. So, I mean, the talk of a suspension is no surprise. I think he could have gotten 1 or 2 games, 2 games at the most. But the thing is, he was moving at full speed, and the guy had his head down. I mean, it's the playoffs, man. Like, it's playoff hockey. Get your head up. Second of all, the only reason we're even talking about this hit is because, like, he got hurt. So, I mean, Mark Scheifele is a big guy. He's a strong guy. He was moving at full speed. It was a powerful hit. But, I mean, if he had walked away from that hit, like, he might have gotten 2 minutes or something. But the only reason we're talking about it really is just because he got hurt, which it sucks. You hate to see it. But, I mean, it's a physical game. It's the playoffs. He was trying to prevent a goal, I think. And
well, that's the thing. I think a big part of it is he's not going for the puck in that play. He's not even looking at the puck. He's looking straight at Evans, going straight for him. And yeah, obviously, if he'd walked out of there without an injury, maybe it would be different. But just the danger of that hit and him going straight for him while he has his head down, and those are considerations you got to take. Is he has his head down and he's going straight for him at that speed.
Well, the fact that he has his head down isn't Scheifele's fault.
Yeah, but you got to take that into account when you're hitting a player like that, right?
Yeah.
When someone's in the corner and they have their head down and you go for a headshot, you're going to get called on that. That's an illegal play.
Yeah, you hate to see it. It's a tough call. I mean, but I guess they paid for it in the end.
Yeah, I think the one light out of that was Ehlers. I don't know if you guys watched the replay. Him sort of standing over Evans, body blocking the whole scrum from getting on him. Obviously, he's a Winnipeg player, so I think that was pretty classy move on his part, sort of body blocking the scrum from getting on Evans, so the medical staff could sort of have a look at him and see how he was doing.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that becomes a more common trend, because so often you see it when there's a huge hit, the guys just lying on the ice, and then guys' own teammates are literally fighting right over top of them.
Yeah.
and the guy could be unconscious just lying there, and he has skates all over the place. And so yeah, hopefully that they keep doing that going forward.
So let's just take a quick break. And
Sounds good.
So right now we got the Vegas Knights against the Montreal Canadiens on one side, and the Tampa Bay Lightning against the New York Islanders on the other side of the Stanley Cup semifinals. So have you guys been watching any of the games?
Yeah, I watched the Montreal game yesterday. I didn't see the Islanders Tampa game today. I just saw the score.
I'm the same as Alex. Watched the Montreal game. It was decently even. It's they had their chances.
They did have their chances.
Yeah, I don't think the score was really representative of the game itself.
Yeah.
But Montreal's offense definitely got shut down pretty hard.
Okay. In the first period, I think Montreal actually outplayed Vegas, but I mean, overall, man, I think Vegas is just a terrifying team to play against. They're just so scary. They're so quick. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is one of the most battle-tested goaltenders out there. 3 cups to his name. Quinn, as a hockey guy, how do you play against a team like that?
They're just a scary team because they're so big. They're so fast, so much depth. I mean, they have Alex Tuck on their third line, which is just crazy to think about.
Ridiculous.
I don't know. They're going to be tough to stop. I thought the one team who could beat them was Colorado, and they lost, which I was a little surprised about.
They lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Vegas got some momentum there and just sort of steamrolled through.
Yeah. Like maybe Tampa Bay makes that a good series because they're also a big and fast team. Maybe a little bit smaller, but a little bit more skillful.
Yeah. And it's not
they're going to be tough to stop.
It's not like you can do the old Milan Lucic Boston Bruins just bully their star players, because they got a guy like Ryan Reeves just that'll just beat your brains in if you try anything like that.
Yeah. And their star guys, they're not small guys either. It's like, what are you gonna pick on Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty? Yeah. Like, I guess Marchessault maybe, but that's about it.
Luckily Montreal does have a pretty big back line as well, with guys like Sherrod and Weber, pretty big boys as well. Even things out a bit, but then of course their front line is pretty small with Caulfield and Toffoli, Suzuki, Gallagher, all pretty small guys.
Yeah. It'll be a tough series for Montreal, but I think that we're all pulling for them.
Do you guys ever watch the intermission segments with like Kevin Bieksa and everyone?
I try to as much as I can. Kevin Bieksa he's really good on TV.
He's hilarious.
He's a good analyst.
Yeah.
And I love Kevin Bieksa. I love him to death. Just Vancouver legend, great guy, just someone you always want to have on your team. But man, if Kevin Bieksa mentions the words Kess's house one more fucking time, I might just stop watching hockey. like, geez, man. Ryan Kesler, I get it. You're retired and everything. Like, you want to get back in the limelight and stuff. Retirement's probably pretty boring for you, but for fuck's sakes, man, like, get a job or something.
Yeah, I saw that ad run for the first time a few days ago, and I just went, "Oh my god!"
No one wants.
What are you doing? Who's watching that? But
there's just like some video of Post Malone chopping limes in his house, like Ryan Kesler on a Zoom call. Oh, we might have to get you to a hockey game. Oh, jeez. Good Lord.
Yeah, with you on that one.
Yeah.
Hard to watch as a Canucks fan.
Yeah.
Anyways,
What do you guys think of Kesler at this time? Are you still kind of like anti-Kesler, or given that he was at the City ceremony and all that, have you kind of turned around?
it's so funny because in Vancouver, it's like it's like a controversial topic, Mr. Ryan Kesler, because I mean, when he was on our team, he was great. He was amazing. Everyone loved him. He was so strong. He was a really dominant player. He scored a lot of goals. But I mean, towards the end, like you could sort of tell, I didn't want to be on the Canucks. Asked for a trade, and then once he left, he was kind of just dead to me, you know. But
Yeah.
like he was a great player, but I mean, it was really hard for me to like him after he left. I mean, obviously, when he's on your team, he's a guy you love to have, you love to cheer for. What's your opinion, Quinn?
Kind of the same as you. He was always a guy on the Canucks who we loved him, but everyone else hated him. If you didn't like the Canucks, you didn't like Kesler.
He was kind of a shit.
And then you kind of saw
disturber.
that when he left. Yeah, exactly. And then
Brad
he left.
Marchand type.
Yeah. And I remember he'd score a goal in Vancouver and he'd kind of taunt the crowd after scoring.
Oh yeah,
It's
he put his hands
not
up.
easy
Like,
to stay in the
what are you
fans'
gonna
hearts.
say?
Yeah.
What are you gonna say to me?
Yeah. Which I used to love it when he did that when he was with the Canucks and
When
he'd
he
score
was-
those big road goals in the playoffs. But yeah.
I definitely like Bieksa a little bit more than Kesler.
Yeah, I think most Canucks fans would agree with you on that one.
I think I mean, talking about like big physical guys, yesterday watching game 1 of Montreal and Vegas, Habs guys, you know, Vegas is a bigger team, but Romanov and Perry were just laying pipe out there the first couple in that first period, man. Like they had some big hits early.
Yeah.
You love to see it, man.
Josh,
NHL hockey, like NHL playoffs.
playoff hockey. Yeah. Josh Anderson as well. Surprised by how much that guy hits.
Throws the body around for sure. So what are you guys thinking in terms of predictions for the series for games? Are you how many games do you think it's gone?
You want to start, Jake?
My heart is with the Habs. They're Canada's team right now. But I don't know. Vegas is just so scary. I would be lying if I said I'd be surprised to see them in the Stanley Cup final again.
Yeah.
As good as Price is, I'm not sure if he can carry. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was bad.
I just got it. Yeah, I think Montreal is a gritty team, but Vegas is just too much. I'd probably say Vegas in 6 if I had to guess. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I had the same actually. I had Vegas in 6. I'm hoping Montreal takes game 2, and I think that would give them a little momentum going forward. And I think they will come back a lot harder. But it'd be nice to see them take a couple games. But just overall, Vegas is so dominant, and like you said, just their top 6. The fact that Tuck's on the third line, they got a pretty well-rounded roster. So it's going to be tough to get past.
Mark Stone, the caveman. The caveman captain.
Yeah.
He actually.
I heard he's one of the dumbest guys in the league. I heard that somewhere. I can't remember where, but
he looks like he looks like a Neanderthal, man. He looks like he came out from hunting mammoths and living in caves and stuff. I mean, I love the guy, classy guy.
Yeah.
Senators guy. So, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
He's just like a big guy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how much of a home ice advantage the Habs have Because they will be at a disadvantage compared to Vegas, who has pretty much their full stadium, I think, and those really loud fans that they have down in Vegas.
Ooh.
Montreal, like, is it still at 2,500 people or? And I just saw something today that was ridiculous. It had the ticket prices for the games. They were like $4,000, $5,000 a ticket. It's just crazy.
Song.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Oh, and imagine, like, some of those guys on Montreal are pretty young. Imagine playing your first like road playoff hockey game and you have to play in the Vegas arena with all those screaming fans.
That's true.
One thing I will say was there was a few Montreal fans in the Vegas stand, which was cool to see. Saw Caulfield's parents, and there was more than I expected. And that's one thing is you would expect there to be zero in Montreal. Not that it makes as big of a difference considering there's very few Montreal fans there as well. But yeah.
Well, it's probably cheaper. It's probably cheaper with the round trip flight to fly there, fly back, and buy the Vegas hockey ticket to see Montreal play over there than buying the $4,000 ticket in Montreal.
100%. Probably a better experience as well.
Yeah. I mean, half the fans in that Vegas arena are just there for the intermission like shows that they have.
Yeah. Don't really know what's going on, but had a few drinks and just cheer for whatever. It's definitely one of my things I got to do is go down to Vegas and watch Canucks game down there.
Oh, big time.
That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Especially like a playoff game or something like that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Hopefully in our lifetime.
Maybe next year. You never know.
Yeah.
Could be. Should we talk about the Tampa Islanders series? I mean, I think we all kind of have sort of said who we think is coming out on top, but how many games do you guys think it's going?
I kind of think Tampa in 5. I think they're just gonna they're just gonna take the rest.
Victory today. I think it's just steamroll from here.
They're a good team. Yeah, them versus Vegas in the finals would be a good series.
I have Tampa taking it in 7 in the finals.
Really?
I mean, it'll depend how Vegas does against Montreal, and obviously Tampa is just a force. But I could see it going 6 or 7, Tampa and Vegas.
I agree. Yeah, hopefully they're both big teams and they play hard, so hopefully a good physical series.
Yeah,
that'll be good if it does happen. Never know, it could be an upset.
Could be, yeah.
And those Islanders, it's just, I honestly don't understand how they're so good, because you look at their team on paper and it's a decent team, but it's not like
they're gritty.
A beat Boston and Washington type of team. I think they're just really well coached with Barry Trotz.
Yeah. They're on a roll for sure. Taking game 1 against Tampa too. That's gotta build the confidence.
That's
didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a pretty well organized team, and they play like they're a gritty team. So I don't know if I can see Tampa winning the next 4 games in a row, but I think they definitely take the series, probably in 6 or 7. Actually, I don't know if it'll go 7. It'll probably be Tampa in 6, I think.
That's a fair assumption.
Took the win today, so 3 more.
All right, well, thanks so much for coming on, you guys. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Tons of fun.
We'll have to do another one after the playoff, after the finals concluded.
100%.
Yeah, we'll recap. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Buddy.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. As always, make sure to smash that like button. And for more in-depth sports analysis and Brew's reviews, make sure to subscribe to stay notified of my future videos. We are also on Spotify, so if you like listening while driving, cooking, working out, or whatever it is, make sure to check us out
on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We've got some exciting stuff planned for the next couple of episodes, so as always, stay thirsty and keep bruising.